Welcome to the Relentless Growth Podcast. I'm Jack Maher here with my good friend Chase Calhoun. I'm located in Spring Hill, Tennessee. He's in Little Rock, Arkansas, and so we're doing this to learn a little bit more. And so we've got a great topic for you today. But before we get into that, we're going to start off the way we start off every podcast with some wins and updates. And so, Chase, I'll kick it to you. What's going on in your world?
Yeah, so another one for us is we just brought on a fractional CFO to join our leadership team. We're not big enough yet where we can afford a full-time finance person, but we've been able to identify and bring on who I think will be a rock star part-time or fractional CFO just to help with some of the finance decision making. And so that's exciting and big step in the right direction for us. How about you?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Some hopefully big news for us is we're expanding our HVAC company, and so we've got a lead on. It's been very difficult for us to find techs, that highly skilled, highly experienced, and so we've got a lead on a great tech, and so hopefully we'll have some conversations with him today. But we definitely feel that a lot of people talk about the skills gap and how you've got a lot of experienced people leaving the workforce. And we're starting to feel that a little bit as we try and hire some of these very specialized, skilled people. A lot of people are obviously already employed and they're comfortable where they are. And so, it's a little more difficult right now to find people who are looking. And so that's something that we're fighting through a lot right now, but hopefully we've got a lead on a good one. So that's a win from this week for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't want to detract from our podcast here, but one thing I heard recently, and just something for you guys to kind of think about, and I give this advice to another friend who's totally different industry but struggling with the same thing, but it's like an Alex Hormozy thing. He talks about how if you need that skilled person, and it's different for you guys because you're all in house, you're not doing it for customers, but you kind of treat it the same. If that person's going to generate a certain amount of revenue, it's worth paying a little bit on the front end to try to bring in that A specialized talent if you can. He was talking about plumbers specifically. It's if you're going to make X from having that plumber on and you're not going to make it if you don't, it's worth paying a little bit with some kind of sign up or starting bonus to try to, and he doesn't pull any punches. He's like, you got to steal the good labor from other companies. And so it's just maybe something for you guys to think about as you go down that path and continue to grow it.
No, that's a good point. It's something we haven't considered, but hey, I'm open to anything. For our topic today, I think it's a really interesting one. I think it's something that we all deal with from time to time. We're going to be talking about avoiding burnout, keeping mindset, keeping yourself sharp, keeping yourself focused on an upward trajectory. And so I think it's going to be a pretty interesting discussion. I'm sure Chase and I both know guys who, have hit a wall or gotten discouraged or gotten out when things got tough. And it's very prevalent, and not to say that that's a bad decision. But I think both of our goals is to kind of keep going through the good and the bad. And so, just talk a little bit about your mindset on that, Chase, and how you look at, challenges or things like that. And just kind of what's your framework kind of going into, we're in a challenging time right now. So how do you kind of look at that stuff? What's your long-term mindset?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. It seems kind of simple when you first kind of look at it, but I think it's a little bit more complex. There's a lot of moving parts here that I think that makes a big difference. One thing I'll say kind of going into it, just kind of get it started, like you said, I've been doing this for a little while now, and I personally have seen people that were rocking and rolling and things were going great. And again, I think things got a little bit tough, or they hit a wall or got burnt out, and they're just not even in business anymore. They're not even playing the game anymore. They're done. Right. And they went and did something completely different. And so when I think about this, I think about it through a long-term lens. You can push as hard as you want, but if that means you go to zero tomorrow because you burn out completely or hit a wall, it doesn't do you any good. And so I think for me, I definitely have a long-term perspective. It's not somebody says it, and I can't remember who, but it's you can't lose if you don't quit. We're just going to keep going regardless. And so it's just, And eventually I think it's whoever just stays in the game the longest, like that's who ends up winning. So I kind of have that perspective when I look at business and everything like that. And then we could probably talk into specifics, but I think there's a lot of stuff I've done or noticed or will change occasionally that'll help me not get burnt out and not feel those overwhelmed stuff. Some of it is also just time, right? Like I think about like some of the stuff we have going on right now and some of the levels of stress that may not, like we had a crazy day yesterday with a weird property management situation. And one of our guys got bit by a dog and police were involved. It was just like this chaotic thing. And it wasn't really that, like it was a bad situation, but it wasn't like, I look back and it was like when I first started, like the amount of stress from that situation would have just been completely debilitating. But with time, I think you kind of build a muscle and get better at dealing with it. I'd like to hear what you think about it. And I think maybe I could go into some specific things that I do that I think also help with that or have helped with it in the past.
Yeah, I think we have pretty similar views on this, but I think the long term, there's a saying, and I don't know who said it, but like the best way to get rich is to do it slow. Or the best way to get rich quick is to do it slow. And I think I think having that mindset of success takes time and it's not going to be instantaneous. And a lot of times, and there are obviously exceptions to this all the time, but a lot of times, the higher the rise, the quicker the fall. And so I think there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of positive in taking it slow, having a gradual rise. And there's going to be times if you're in the game where you have, an exponential climb and then you may level off and then have another climb. But I think having that long-term mindset of, my goal is not to do something crazy this year that's unsustainable. It's to build and build and build and build until over time you've got something that's great. But yeah, it's definitely just having that long-term outlook of a lot of decisions we're making today, they're not going to pay off today. It might not pay off for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. And I think that's kind of the difference in building a business and like trying to make money. It's the sustainability factor of, are you trying to build something that lasts, that's going to outlast you, or that you're going to sell? Everybody's got different goals, but and then there's hey, I've got to get what I want as quick as I can, and then hey, I make it out. And there's different things for different people, but I think what we're focused on is building that business that's going to last over time. And I think a big factor on that, just to kind of jump ahead a little bit, is surrounding yourself with people. Like you mentioned stress from a property management situation. We've got stuff happen all the time like that. And if I was dealing that by myself, I probably would have quit a long time ago. Like there's a certain amount of isolation that's not good for you just as a human being. And just having that stress that, hey, I'm the only one who can deal with this problem is not a good place to be. And so getting to a point where you can scale, where you can surround yourself with really good, high performing people so that you can kind of share that burden. I think that leads to sustainability, because if it's just you, it's tough no matter what, and so then not everybody starts out like that, obviously, but getting to a point where you have people around you, I think is a pretty key part. I'd love to hear how that's kind of played out in your journey.
Yeah. So like for me specifically, because it was just me when I first started out, and the only way for me to get ahead earlier on was to do a lot and do everything and do it as good as I could. But I can see how, looking back, like when I was first getting started and when it was just me and I was trying to juggle all that stuff, like it's easy to see how people get overwhelmed and burnt out, because it can be very stressful and very hard to deal with. And then I think at some point, just like sometimes I think about stuff as a knowledge thing, like learning that's, if I want to do this thing, like that's just part of it and that's okay, but it's not always going to be like that in that same way. And then starting to bring people in to help take some of that load off the plate. Like you said, Now is we're doing more projects and bigger projects, or these stressful things happen, have other people that can step in and help with it. And it's not just me trying to figure it out. It has been a huge aspect of it. And then I think on the ways along the way, like if you have no choice but to have that high stress situation, trying to figure out ways to better deal with the stress, or to like, there's things that cannot help with the stress and make it worse, and there's things that can help with the stress and make it better. And so I think I've learned both of those along the way. I know earlier on, one thing that I'm not doing right now, and I wish I was, because it is really helpful, but it's like a time priority thing for me right now. It's like earlier on when I was going through all that stressful time, I was doing like Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and having some kind of outlet like that, like where you could have stress and chaos all day long, and you go in there and train, and it's really easy to be constantly thinking about all these things in your head until like somebody's trying to choke you unconscious, and the only thing you're focused on is how to not let that happen. And so it does a really good job, because it's like it's really physically exerting, and then again it forces you to be really focused on what's happening right now, because again there's like real immediate consequences if you don't. And so that's something earlier on that I started doing, and then I think probably is what started me down a little bit of this whole fitness journey. One thing that I'm really focused on right now is like the endurance triathlon training and stuff like that. And I think a lot of earlier on young entrepreneurs, when they are starting to feel burnt out, or when they are stressed out, like it'll start to negatively impact their sleep. And if they don't get good sleep, then it like makes things worse. One of the things that I really enjoy about the endurance training is when you're doing it, you never have to worry about sleeping well, because like the only thing you have to worry about is trying to make it to your bed before you fall asleep is the biggest challenge. And so like, man, I could have the hardest, most stressful day, but when you're training 2 times a day, sometimes for a couple hours at a shot, like getting that good quality sleep is usually a non-issue. And so there's stuff like that along the way that's really helped me. Do you have any of those type things that either helped or hurt your stress?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm a better person. I'm a better, better everything when I'm physically exercising. I joke that, when I got in the habit, you just did a half Ironman. I did a half and a full a couple of years ago. And the deal with the Ironman, just so everybody knows, is you can't listen to music. You can't do anything during the race. And so, for a full Ironman, that's, depending on how good you are, I'm not that good. For me, it was 15 hours of physical activity where you're just in your head. And so to get ready for that, I never trained with music. I didn't do anything. But man, the benefit of that, and man, I learned to love it, is you get more thinking time than you do at any other point in the day. You're not distracted by your phone. You're not distracted by, not that family's a distraction, but you only have one thing going on, and your mind has time to think. And I mean, I've spent many mornings on runs having mental arguments with whether it's employees or subcontractors or the city or whatever it is. And man, I'm so much more prepared for the day when I've taken that time to let my mind wander and think, and you come up with solutions when you're in that mindset where you're just letting your mind wander. And I feel like overactivity is a big problem, and I catch myself in it a lot of times where, hey, I'm in the car, I'm going to throw on a podcast. Why don't I use this time to learn something? And that's hugely beneficial. But you also need some time to just not do anything, to sit, to not be listening, to not be trying to learn, just to be able to process. And so I think that's what physical activity is to me. It forces me to process those thoughts and to kind of prepare for the day. So it's had a huge impact on me. And it kind of protects that point of the day where I can't do anything else. And so that it's had a pretty big impact on my life for sure. How have you kind of protected your time or eliminated some things that had negative impacts? Like, how do you kind of look at that?
So I think too, those are almost like two separate questions for me. Like one of the things that I've eliminated, at least for right now, that's negatively impacted my like stress levels or anxiety, whatever, right? Just my mental health, is alcohol. Dude, I freaking love to drink. Like I love beer and I love wine and I really enjoy it. Like I enjoy having, a couple glasses of wine with a nice dinner or something like that. But it's funny. I think a lot of people, like I've had a stressful week or a stressful day. So I want to, go out and have some drinks and kind of let loose or whatever. Like that's pretty common, I think, in our culture, especially in entrepreneurship, especially in business. It's one thing that I've just chose to not drink right now. And it's just because especially when I'm going through more stressful times, it's like at least for me personally, it's counterintuitive. Like you think like, if I had a really stressful day, I'm going to go have a couple beers or a couple glasses of wine and de-stress and then sleep better and all this. But for me, it's kind of counterproductive. And so when I'm going through those really stressful times, if I drink even a little bit, sometimes it'll negatively affect my sleep and I'll actually catch myself like more stressed or more anxious than I would be if I'm not. And so that's more, and I know it's also not healthy for you, but more than anything else, part of the reason I'm not drinking right now is because I'm probably in a higher stress time in business. And it just helps me not, by eliminating that one thing, it helps me be less stressed out. And then I think as far as like protecting my time, another thing that I've found myself like, it's really easy for me to get stressed or anxious when I feel like I don't have enough time or I'm running out of time or I'm constantly rushed. And so, especially as you know, I'm training for a full Ironman right now, which is taking an enormous amount of extra time to train for. And it's like, you think that would be more stressful, but it's actually forced me to be very intentional with like time scheduling and time blocking and stuff like that, which is, you would think that all this extra training would make things more stressful or worse, but it's actually helped me and it's made it a little bit better because it's forced. Like I can't just wing my workouts. Like I've got to sit down each week and I'm literally blocking out everything in my calendar, starting with, church and family time and those things that are most important. And then I'm putting workouts in there. And then it's like I'm scheduling business around that. Now I do have to, something's got to give. And so I got to get up earlier so that I have focus time for business and then can still do the rest of that. But just really being intentional with time blocking and scheduling on my calendar has also helped a lot.
I think that's a great point. I mean, when you talk about, I think the best way to eliminate like either negative things or clutter from your life, and there's a balance to this, obviously, but is to be busy. I think that's at least counterintuitive for me, but when I have more free time, I'm less productive as a general rule. And you would think it would be the opposite. You would think you would spend more time on the tasks, that you need to spend time on. But for me, it's just, and maybe that's something I need to work on personally, but for me, it's just not true. If I compress my schedule and if I've got a lot going on, I'll figure out a way to get the stuff I need to get done. And I probably won't do some things, but in all disclosure, those probably weren't some things I needed to do, or I'll figure out a way to hand those off. And so I think there's a lot of, at least I've found a ton of value in pushing yourself in various areas of your life so that you really prioritize the things that are important. And it's the best way I've found to do it because you know what's important. It's not like you don't, but it's also super difficult to do it. There's a lot of distractions. Everything in the world is against you prioritizing your life, whether it's Netflix queuing up another episode or, notifications or, friends. It could be anything. But when you really have a full schedule, you've got to choose and you've got to make that choice. And so it's had a huge impact on me. When I started training for endurance stuff, my whole life got better because I had less time. And it's really counterintuitive, but that's been 100% the truth to me. And that kind of helped me get on this train of like some daily habits that really helped me there. So what are like some daily habits that have kind of helped you kind of shape you and protect your mental state as you train, as you get deeper into business? Like what does your day look like, or how does your daily habits impact you?
The one thing, and this is, I guess, like a more of a tactical tool that I use that's helped me a lot is and it's old school, but like I have a notebook, and I've got five like non-negotiable things that I'm going to do, or at least do my best to do every single day. And those change over time, but I have five things on there that it's like, this is going to get done today, preferably as much of it as possible first thing in the morning. And then I also have I've got another five, like just to-do tasks that need to get done today. I think when I was earlier on, especially when I think of like, just like mental clutter and stuff going in I need to do this. And a lot of time, like I would wake up in the middle of the night because I was thinking about something that needed to get done tomorrow. Just taking the exercise, like get it out of my head and write it down. Like, this is something I need to do this, and this tomorrow. And like something as simple as just like literally writing that down in a notebook, like dramatically improve like I could be more present with my family because I'm not thinking about all the stuff that needs to get done tomorrow. Like I wouldn't wake up in the middle of the night thinking about stuff that need to get done tomorrow. And I hear that a lot from a lot of young entrepreneurs. It's something that's very simple, but for me, it's just like literally, these are the five things I'm going to get done every day. These are the to-do items that I need to get done. And like, there's been times, especially earlier on when I started doing this, where it's like, I'm getting in bed, getting ready to fall asleep and I can't sleep because I'm thinking about something. I will literally get out of bed and it's like, you write that down on the piece of paper. So now I know that I'm going to do it first thing tomorrow because I wrote it down on that piece of paper. And then it's like gone. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I know I'm going to worry about it tomorrow. And so it seems very simple, but that once, like just some simple stuff like that really helps a lot. I think when it comes to like that mental kind of clarity and clutter, just get it down on paper. And I'm like, literally like, I want to cross it off when it gets done because it feels like a win or whatever. And so those things, I think that's something I do pretty religiously every day. It's like I'm doing those things every single day.
Well, that's something I've done in the past and I've gotten away from the habit of, and when I did it, I saw the exact same result. So I don't know why I'm not doing it now. So I'm going to start doing it. It's a good challenge. But I operate the same way, and I've got it's terrible. But I operate. They say you shouldn't operate off of to-do lists, but I've got note cards here. I've got a couple people that work for me get note cards with things to do on them, and it's a little old school, but there's something about writing it down and getting it out of your head that just gives me comfort, makes me, it just takes a little bit of stress out of that. And so I totally agree with you. And it's a great reminder for me to set aside that time at night to kind of plan that next day. Because it's 100% true that the stuff that lingers in your mind will, it'll steal your sleep. It'll steal your comfort. It'll distract you with family. And so that's something that I definitely need to do. Well, for somebody who's, say they're busy with their job, they're busy with their family, they're stressed, they feel like, this whole, we talked about Ironman training and doing a lot of crazy things, but what's like a simple step, that you would recommend for people, something that they should start out with that would help them and would be kind of an easy intro into controlling your time and controlling your mindset?
Yeah. So I think for me, it's the two most important things would be some type of physical exertion. So physical exercise, and preferably the harder, the better. I think Jiu Jitsu is a great option, or just some type of 3 to 5 days a week in the gym and training as hard as you can. I think that's a very important one for me. And then the list, like the handwritten list, I think that's another probably good starting point. And it doesn't have to be like 5 and 5. It could just be like just 3 things you're going to get done every single day, and then 3 to-do list items. I know earlier on in my entrepreneurial career, I was like really good about making lists, but I'd make these like horrible, like it would be like an entire page to-do list where I had like 18 things that I need to get done. Yep. And the problem is I would cross like one off and I'd add 5, and it was this continuing thing. It's very stressful. And so with the list, I would say just pick a number. So maybe it's like 3 things you're going to do every day, and then 3 to-do items. Then you can do 10, but like 3 things that you're absolutely going to get done today, and then like cross them off when they're done. And instead of adding to that list, if you have 4, 5, and 6 that come up throughout the day, just put them on the next day. Now, if you get them done ahead of time, like that's great, but don't try to overdo it. Try to make it like just achievable and something you can actually mark off. So that's the two biggest things for me is I think just some kind of physical exercise and then an old school like handwritten list, but don't overdo it. Just pick, I'd say 3 things you're going to do the same thing that you're going to do every single day that's important to you. And then 3 to-do items that you're going to like cross off. And if you have more than 3, move them to the next day. Get as much done as you want, but at least get those 3 things on that list done every single day.
Well, I couldn't have said that much better myself. But if I'm going to throw one more thing in there, I'll say wake up early. It's been a game changer in my life. A good book on it, if you want to get started, is Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. I don't follow his thing exactly, but he has a great mindset on it. And so to me, it's the easiest way to create time, create clarity, and set you up for success is to wake up early. And I know, they say half people are morning people and half people are night people, but mornings are the greatest time of the day. And that's my personal opinion, but it's my favorite time of the day. And I'm going to keep saying it until people believe it. But that's had a tremendous impact in my life. And so I would just encourage everybody, wake up, get up before the world does. It'll give you a sense of accomplishment right off the bat, and it'll help you accomplish your goals. So that would be my takeaway. But no, I really appreciate everybody tuning in. I think this is an important topic, and it's something that we've got to keep front of mind, because even if we have a great mindset on Monday, we might not on Thursday. And so this is something that you've got to keep consistent in your life, of a way to protect your mind. And so it's especially important in today's world. There's more distractions than ever. So we'd love to hear, in the comments, what you guys do to, protect your mind, protect your mindset. If there's things that we said that you disagree with, we'd love to hear that too. So let us know your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this podcast or some of our others, please like it, leave a rating. We really appreciate that. And we'll see you guys next week.
Everyone.